Hello and welcome to The Spirit Safe. My name's Rob. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Well, this will be the last video of 2018 and thank you very much for being with me throughout the year. I just want to recap on a few of the things that I've enjoyed throughout the year, highlights and lowlights, and share with you my pick of 2018 of all the whiskies I have tried. So it's been an eventful year. Focusing on Scotch to begin with, I've reviewed blends, blended malts for the first time, and single malts, of course. And by my count, unless I get another video in before the end of the year, which I might not do, bottles from 24 different Scotch malt distilleries. And that includes unusual ones like Glenbergie, Tiernanig, Linkwood, Glenelgin, Braval, that other reviewers really don't review at all. And it includes also popular distilleries, more popular ones like Bruichladdich, Springbank and Glendronach. So a good variety of Scotch single malts from all of the regions in Scotland. All have been represented this year. I've reviewed whiskies also from 7 countries here, including Scotland. So Scotland, Ireland, the US, Japan, Canada, Italy and India. A lot of those for the first time. Particularly Canada and India. I think there are some real gems there. So Canadian and Indian whiskies will be on the menu next year, I'm sure. Highlights and lowlights. A lowlight was breaking my arm and having to do 3 reviews with my arm in a sling. Highlights were my visit to the Victoria Whisky Festival in January last year. Was it January or February? January, I think. Where I met Foodquig and Trenny and C in person. Great guys. If you're not subscribed to those channels, make sure you do it straight away. And then I was at a very boring corporate conference in Montreal, and I escaped from the hotel one night and met up with Swami Suave from Malton in Montreal, and we went for a few drinks, which was good. He's a great guy. Make sure you'll subscribe to him if you're not already. And also we broke the 500 subscriber mark just a couple of weeks ago. So 510, 512 something subscribers as I'm recording this video. So what have we got for next year then? Still more variety involved. I want to do more blends and blended malts, more of the Johnny Walker range, for example, and some of the blended malts that you see on the supermarket shelves. Very ordinary things like Monkey Shoulder, which I've tried before, but I've never had a full bottle. So let's have a bottle and see how it is. I want to include some budget things in the tastings for next year. I want to include some Compass Box bottlings. I've got 2 on my shelf. Single grain and blended grain whiskies I've never done before, so I'd like to have some Scotch single grain and blended grain. Scotch, Irish, Canadian, American, of course, but I want to try to add Sweden, England and Taiwan next year as well, if I can. Single malts, I want to visit some of the more obvious distilleries, some of the more popular ones. As many of you know, I'm on a quest to have a standard size bottle from every working malt distillery in Scotland. So in my quest to do that, I've been buying things from distilleries I've not had before, obviously. So I've left out some of the more obvious ones that I've tried before. The Glengoynes, Taliskers, Macallans, Glenfiddichs. And that's a bit of a hole in the reviews. So I'd like to add some of the more popular distilleries, the ones that I tried much earlier on. So that will be something I'll look forward to, trying some of those again. I want to try some better Canadian whiskey, not just the normal stuff that people buy for mixing. I want to try Lot 40s and Pike Creeks and whatever you would suggest. As we get more into the Canadian whiskies, I'll be asking people for recommendations. I'm sure you'll be forthcoming with those of you as you have been already. Whether it's a budget whiskey or a more exotic whiskey, something I've had to save up for or go out and search for. It'll always be an honest and unbiased review. I don't review samples, I know others do. I make sure there's at least 20 CL, and I try it at least 3 times before I record a review, just so that I know it's not based on my mood or what I ate that day. So always an honest and unbiased review. Pick for the year. I decided on this one very, very early on, and I kept the bottle so I could show it to you, but then something else came along very recently. So I'll show you the first one first. I can't decide between the two, I'm so sorry. The first one is the Kilkerran 12-year-old from the Glengyle distillery. Just an excellent representation of that Campbelltown style from a young distillery. Really, really enjoyed it. Fantastic and really good for the price. And then I was settled on this, and then the Glendronach 15 came along, which I reviewed very, very recently. This is absolutely fantastic. What is keeping this off being the top whiskey without any competition is that it has a hype behind it. People already know about it, whereas this is more of a hidden gem. So I can't decide between the two of them. They're both absolutely fantastic. If you've got the two together on your shelf, it's great to see the two of them together, because they each represent their own respective style very, very well. Yeah, what can I say? You can't go wrong with either of these. So I'm not going to pick between them. Those are my picks of the year. So all that remains to say is thank you. Thank you to all of the subscribers, all 500 odd of you. Thank you to my wife, who it's only by her grace that this channel survives. She puts up with the financial outlay, with all of the bottles hanging around. The fact that we have a 12-year-old car is down, at least in some measure, to the fact that I buy all of these bottles. So thank you. Thank you to her, and thank you to everybody. Fantastic. I don't have a glass, so I will say thank you very much. Happy New Year, and hope to see you again in 2019. Cheers. Goodbye.